Before this video begins, I really want to take a second to promote Discord. We have a Discord server specifically for this community that's made. It's called the Hidden Kingdom, and it's been so much fun, especially over like the last week. We've gotten a lot of more people in there since you guys have been joining off of the videos that I promoted in previously, and we're now closing in at 300 people already. We're nearly there, and I'm super excited for that to be the case. And you guys have just shown so much love, especially since we kind of revived my game night in the server. That's called Nights. From now on, they're going to be on Friday nights because I know majority of people are out of school and etc. now, and I know most people in this community are a little bit younger, so they're still going to school, or if you're in college, etc. Most people are on their summer vacation by now. So until at least September, we're going to be doing it on Fridays now instead of the usual Sunday, because I know, having Night, it's annoying to, stay up all night playing video games with us and then have school that next morning on a Monday. So I think this is going to be a lot better for during the summertime. And for those of you guys that aren't able to participate, it is going to be streamed on Twitch every week. That way, you guys don't have to feel like you guys can't participate. And the voice chat's open for those who are playing with us, so no worries on that end. So if you have things like Mario Kart, etc., or Smash, we're always playing those games. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Oh, and the link is in the description box below. Now, I want to say that it is best to watch this video after watching the Master Ava video I previously did. It was my latest upload. If you haven't watched that, I highly recommend doing so, because a point from what I said in that video branches off and creates this video. So it'll make a little bit more sense in context, but I really appreciate showing your love on that video as well. Brain. Now, I remember originally finding out that his name was Brain and not Blaine, and I was pleasantly surprised, I guess, maybe because Brain is just so different, and I guess it would probably fit his character a little bit more, especially nowadays knowing what's going on with him. Honestly, we don't really know too much about the guy, if I'm being totally honest. If that's the case, we honestly don't know much about any of the Union leaders besides Lorium and Ventus, if we're being totally honest, just because they're alive in the future. But highlighting Brain specifically for this video, we don't truly know much about him, and I think most people would agree he's probably the most mysterious out of all of the Union leaders. And there's many things we just don't know, and it's mainly because he wasn't meant to be a Union leader to begin with. And until he actually was chosen to be a Union leader, we had never actually met him before until that Keyblade graveyard moment. We never met him previously. But based off the last video, I brought up a contradiction in Brain's character and some events that revolved around him that kind of branches off and creates this video, like I said previously. And because of that, it's highly likely that Brain actually isn't from this time. He's actually from the future, making him a time traveler. Certain questions began to revolve themselves around in my head. How did he know when the Union leaders would be chosen? How did he replace Strelitzia in the Union leaders? How does he know ruin will befall the world they're being sent to before it actually even happens? And I think each one of these questions can all kind of be answered, all based off of one thing that Brain had to ensure needed to be done. We all know about Master Ava's role given to her by the Master of Masters to create the Dandelions, those being the Keyblade wielders who were meant to avoid the coming war, the Keyblade War, and who would be able to pass on the Keyblade as if things never happened. Those Dandelions were going to be sent to another world line to which they can avoid that Keyblade War. And of those Dandelions, 5 would need to govern over them as leaders amongst them, those being the aforementioned Union leaders who we meet in Kingdom Hearts Unicross, of course. But let's rewind for a quick second there. Master Ava was told which Dandelions that were to be made into Union leaders. Those wielders were handpicked by the Master of Masters himself. That's what's shown in Kingdom Hearts Unicross. We saw the scene, and of those chosen, Strelitzia was one of them. But this is where the contradiction I mentioned before came into place. If Lady Ava knew Strelitzia was supposed to be a Union leader because she was told by the Master of Masters so she can send each leader off to the other world, then how did Brain make it there in her place? No one knew what happened to Strelitzia either, as Lorium is clearly looking for his sister, who he still believes to be in this new world line they're in. Ava couldn't have made a mistake like this. The Master of Masters clearly told her who to take. She even gave Strelitzia the rule book, insinuating and inviting her to be a Union leader. Ava could not have made a mistake like like this. It's impossible. As I said in my previous video, I believe Brain is a time traveler and came back to try to prevent the ruin that was coming and save those who could be affected by it. But the only way that would be possible is to be sent to the other world line as a Union leader this time, to work alongside the others. And the only way that was possible was that he had to have met up with Master Ava and convinced her that what he was saying was true. Her kind and faithful nature to the Master of Masters may have made her doubt Brain at first, but his immense amount of knowledge and insight just seemed too great and spot on. Then that would lead to her hesitation about wanting to send anyone at all, as it would put anyone she sent in danger, but not doing so would attract the Master of Masters' attention, as this whole scheme is to try and pull a fast one on someone who can see the future. Eventually, Ava decides to trust him with the idea of replacing Strelitzia with him, but this is where another flip comes into place. I don't think Strelitzia was actually supposed to be killed, as Ava would have most definitely declined and tried to stop Brain if he was willing to go that far. But while rewatching this scene over and over and over just to try to make a clear-cut idea of what actually happened and why this occurred, I find it strange that in the cutscene where Strelitzia died, that it never actually showed her being confronted by her killer, not even for a moment. It shows directly afterwards when she's already on the floor and the killer takes her book, but it never actually shows her being confronted. This is weird, mainly just because we're probably all really used to every other form of media when like a mystery murder happens, we normally see a slight glimpse of who does it, or at least something happening to that person. It's just kind of weird for her just to be standing there normally. The screen just cuts to black. There's no yell, there's no text boxes that say, you know, ah, or anything like that. It just automatically cuts to her already on the ground alongside her Chirithy. But I don't want anyone to misunderstand what I'm trying to say here. I believe that this was still indeed Brain and that he did kill Strelitzia, but what he told Ava was that he'd have to knock her out or something, so that way she wouldn't be in the way or meet up with the other Union leaders before being sent off, because according to these cutscenes, no one else actually knew that Strelitzia was chosen to be a Union leader. Even her own brother didn't know, and we also know this because when the Union leaders first met up in the Keyblade graveyard, they had no idea who they would meet there. But that wouldn't be the only reason. He targeted Strelitzia specifically because the other leaders play vital roles in the future, while Strelitzia does not, and he needed to attack her so he could retrieve her rulebook, something similar to a badge that kind of indicates, yes, I was also chosen to be a Union leader. It's a collection of instructions written by the Master of Masters for each of the 5 Union leaders. As Brain wasn't originally supposed to be one, he never actually received one originally from Ava. This being the case, that's how he needed to make sure he ended up picking up her rulebook after attacking her. Honestly, that whole situation could have been avoided if Ava didn't already approach Strelitzia, give her the rulebook, and ask her to be a Union leader already. But pushing that aside, now with Master Ava on his side, his insight of the future to come, his new position as a Union leader is secured. But now the hard part comes into play, as in his future, he wasn't a Union leader. So though he knows of the ruin to come, he must still investigate as to why the events occur and how to avoid them, as we later see in Kingdom Hearts Union Cross when he tells the leaders of an upcoming ruin and claims he will be a virus that rewrites the program of destiny. As I've clearly indicated here, there's a lot actually pointing to Brain knowing a lot more than kind of makes sense for him to know. While recording this video, I also just kind of hit in my head, because I know I probably will see this in the comments as well, that it also kind of makes sense he's always reading the book. That way he can kind of try to get a little something that could help push him aside, push him along and help him make sure he can know what he needs to do to avoid this upcoming ruin. Because we know Ephemer reads the book all the time, as Ventus and even Scold just said in the cutscene. But just as Brain says, he has a goal that needs to be achieved for the sake of everyone that's here. I know we all try to get this whole thing about Brain that he's actually evil and he's a villain and all this stuff. And while yes, he did do a very terrible crime, because at first I wanted to try to say that Strelitzia wasn't actually dead and she was only knocked out, but it wasn't until rewatching the scene, because it's been a long time, that I noticed, yeah, her heart kind of floated away. So that kind of seals the deal. She she did die. So yeah, Brain did kill her, but possibly Brain doesn't even know he did, or maybe that wasn't even technically his intention. All he needed was the rule book, and he wasn't likely going to just ask her to take her place. I know she was kind of unsure about her role as a union leader because she probably didn't really think she had what it takes, and that's why she wanted to seek the player out too in Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, because she wanted her to also join the Dandelions, that they would still be together even in the new timeline. While Brain may not be the best person ever, sometimes a good guy has got to get his hands dirty for the sake of everyone else. But now that I've shared this theory with all of you, what do you think? Do you think Brain is from the future? Do you think he's the same virus referred to by Luciu in the secret reports of Kingdom Hearts 3? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, hitting the bell after subscribing will make sure you never miss a video again, and leaving a like will help YouTube push this video to even more Kingdom Hearts fans to theorize with. Don't forget that if you want to go further and interact with our community, we're always theorizing, hanging out in my Discord server. The link is down in the description box below. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is KingdomAce, and remember, my loyal knights, to always fly skyward.